On part 2 of 2, we talked to our buddy David Cluck, filmmaker, raconteur, and all-around interesting expat.
So if you love stories from the always interesting world of filmmaking in Thailand, you'll love this episode of the Bangkok podcast.
Sawadee krap, and welcome to the Bangkok podcast. My name is Greg Jorgensen, a Canadian who came to Thailand in 2001 because I was tired of hearing the phrase a snowball's chance in hell and wanted to change the narrative to a snowball's chance in Thailand.
I like that. It probably has an equal chance of survival.
I think so.
And I'm Ed Knuth, an American who came to Thailand on a one-year teaching contract 23 years ago. Fell in love with Thais who genuinely seemed to appreciate a 10 or 20 baht tip. So I never left.
Another way to say that would be, I fell in love with being cheap and still being appreciated for it.
That is entirely true. 10 or 20 baht, it's about 50 cents or something like that, you know? Right. And I don't know, like maybe Thais are just good actors, but I just really like it. If I give a motorbike guy 10 baht, they almost always are like, oh, thanks, you know? And then if it's a delivery guy, I mean, obviously sometimes I tip more than 20 baht. That's not the maximum. But this just dawned on me the other day. Like, they seem to genuinely appreciate it.
I think that the QR codes are kind of giving servers a raw deal now in restaurants, because it used to be like, oh, it's, 480 baht, so you drop 500 and forget the change. But now you pay exact amount through your QR scanning.
Correct. Sometimes, right.
And a lot of times it's just easy to get up and not leave a tip. So
true that.
I think we need to maybe throw down a 20 here and there, and they do seem to appreciate it.
Yeah, we want to give a quick thank you to one of our patrons, Yari Kuritu, who supports us at the show shout-out level. Stick around after part 2 of our interview with our pal David Cluck to hear why Yari is getting a call from me if I ever end up in a European jail. Yeah,
me too. You got him on speed dial, Yari.
We also want to give a big thanks to all of our patrons who support the show. Patrons get every episode a day early, behind-the-scenes photos of our interviews, a heads up to send questions to upcoming guests, and access to our Discord server to chat with me, Greg, and other listeners around the world. But best of all, patrons like Yari also get an unscripted, uncensored bonus episode every week where we riff on current events and Bangkok topics. On this week's bonus show, we chatted about a report that details the insane amount of sugar that Thais eat, a discussion on whether or not I should remove the anti-theft cage around my seemingly inaccessible balcony, and speculation about a same-sex marriage bill that seems to be on the minds of a lot of people, including the huge number of LGBTQ plus couples who got married in Bangkok on Valentine's Day.
Aww.
To learn how to become a patron and get all this good stuff, plus full access to over 700 bonus and regular back episodes, click the support button at the top of our website.
That's right. And as always, if you have a comment, a show idea, or just want to say hi, head to bangkokpodcast.com. Click the little microphone button on the bottom right, and you can leave us a voicemail that we'll play on the show. Alrighty then. Well, this is part 2 of 2, where Ed is joined by our buddy David Cluck, member of the Directors Guild of America, veteran of dozens of major Hollywood motion pictures and a few tiny ones, a raconteur extraordinaire, and just all-around great guy. Now, those who haven't worked in the film biz might not know what a strange and unique industry it is, which naturally attracts some strange and unique people, but that's perfect for a guy like David, who is a great example of that quote-unquote interesting expat that has a million stories for any occasion. Last week, the boys focused on how David's Hollywood career eventually led him to Thailand. And this week, Ed and David talk about the varied experiences on film projects in Thailand and why the land of smiles is such a great destination for foreign film and TV production. So here's part 2 of Ed's conversation with David Cluck.
Bangkok's okay to support yourself, but if you want to kind of make like good Western money, that's not easy. But the cool thing is you're working on international productions.
Yeah.
Eventually, you became a member of the Directors Guild. I don't know exactly when that happened. So you were able to make good money, basically solid money.
Yeah. No, I mean, I was still making my Western salary. So when I was going back to the States and doing jobs, and I was still, so I was keeping busy. And So yeah, I was very fortunate. So, and it makes a big difference. I mean, I was able to not work as much, and the fact that my money went a lot farther here.
Went further here for sure.
I was kind of fortunate. So
now you told me a story recently about you. You were asked by the organizers of a film festival in Hua Hin, which was kind of one iteration of the Thailand Film Festival, ended up being Hua Hin, kind of the last big one. But you were telling me like they asked you to try to find some famous people to attend the festival.
Yeah, because that's sort of a thing with film festivals, right?
Sure.
You always want to bring, like when I was involved in the 2009 film festival, Jim Belushi was brought as sort of the guest of honor. So they fly him over and they put him in a nice hotel and they, send him to visit the elephants and stuff like that. And he shows up at all the parties and the premieres and stuff like that. And I've worked with Jim since then. He's a very nice guy and he loved it. We'd love to talk about Thailand, how much he loved it. And he's had a great time here. And when the Hua Hin Film Festival came up in 2011, I was asked, because by then I'd gotten to know a lot of these people through Paul and through other folks, and saying, "Hey, is there any actors you could maybe bring?" So I contacted a bunch of people, and I ended up bringing Alex Mraz. Ended up being available. It was tough because it was right during the holidays. It was in December, so everybody was like, a lot of the people I knew, and I tried to reach out to some of my other friends.
Gotcha.
They couldn't do it just because they were either, a lot of actor friends of mine were working. Well, Michael Keaton was doing a movie in Toronto.
But it's kind of cool that at that point in your career, you actually knew name actors. So there was more than one person you could reach out to that could possibly rep for the festival.
Yeah, exactly. And it was going after anybody who was a friend or an associate. Very few people, I would say, very few actors, movie stars, I would consider friends. Many associates, many people that would be very friendly contacts. Right. But I never, people approach me all the time. Hey, can you get my script to so and so? Like, no, I don't do that. It's just like that's the way an associate becomes a former associate.
Right. So you're annoying people.
Like,
right.
Call his, do what I do. Call his agent.
Right.
Why can't I get through to his agent? It's like, welcome to Hollywood.
Right.
That's the hardest thing in the world.
Right.
So, and then I would never send something to an actor that I didn't get a chance to at least vet. And I don't have time to sit and read scripts all day. And then somebody wants their help with it. It's like, oh God. So it turns into a bit of a rabbit hole. So, but certain actors I'd worked with, and especially if I knew their agents and people like that, I knew their manager or their publicist. And because this is the Bangkok, it's it was the Thailand Film Festival in Hua Hin. They were offering an appearance fee and stuff like that. Everything's on it. So making a legitimate offer to somebody like that, using your contacts for that, is certainly it wasn't inappropriate.
Yeah, that's professional. Sure.
And that was helpful. And it was just hard finding people available because there was such a demand on their time. But the fun thing is that I got Alex and his agent to come, and had a couple of people that were interested, a couple of people that couldn't make it at the last minute. And I talked to other actors' agents and found out what their normal salary was for an appearance to do film festivals and little perk package and stuff.
Of the numbers are pretty crazy for how much they make for one night, right?
Yes, it can be amazing.
Just to show up. We're not going to reveal too much details, but we're talking six figures. This is to get a pretty name, not even necessarily a super A-list, but like a well-known actor, to get them to show up for like one night and do some, autographs and walk the red carpet and maybe do an interview and hang out. You're talking six figures.
Yeah, easily.
That's crazy.
Yeah. No, I mean, I talked to Kevin Spacey's publicist and said, we're doing this, and would he be interested? He said, he's in rehearsals in London on a play, but he loves to do this kind of stuff. He loves to travel. And, his appearance fee is normally $125,000 just for future, because please call us next time. If he's available, we might be able to squeeze it in.
Wow.
And that's one of the other beauties about Thailand. Who doesn't want to come to Thailand?
Yeah, people will come to to go to Hua Hin.
Here's a first class plane ticket. We're going to put you in this hotel, and we're going to pay you a bunch of money.
Yeah.
You think you'd be interested?
Yeah.
Not a lot of arm twisting there if they're available. And it's something that actors do all the time. I mean, it is a normal part of their thing is making appearances at film festivals where they get awards, they get feted at these festivals and things like that, and it is part of their thing. It ups their queue. It's a plus for everybody, and it's certainly exciting for the people. I mean, so at Hua Hin we ended up getting at the last minute. Ryan Gosling came. as
Ryan
made
Gosling,
an
right.
appearance, and Nicholas Winding Refn. So they were getting ready. They were just coming off of Drive, which was a successful film, and
Hugely
huge hit.
successful, yeah.
And Albert Brooks, I think was nominated, sadly didn't win, should have won for Drive. And Carrie, what's her name? Spacing out. Go on.
That's right.
Great British actress who was in that film, as well as Oscar Isaacs. Was in
Right,
it.
sure.
Was one of his early roles. No, is it Oscar Isaacs? That is no Oscar. Anyways, hopefully I'll edit all this out. But
don't worry.
So Nicholas Winding Refn and Ryan Gosling were in town, and really sort of on the heels.
They were getting ready to shoot Only God Forgives. Right.
So this was the Friday. They were starting shooting on Monday. So somebody got a hold of them and said, "Hey, would you guys be willing to come down to the 2-hour drive from Bangkok to Hua Hin? We'll drive you down, do the red carpet walk, hang out for dinner, shake some hands, sign a few autographs." And that's exactly what they did.
Nice.
And they got a nice chunk of cash for it. And they put it in the movie. And if you can watch, there's a movie that Nicholas Winding Refn's wife made about, it was her documenting her husband making this movie here.
Making Only God Forgives.
Only God Forgives. So they talk about the money, and they're literally in the back of their car on the way home. I was like, look at this cash. This cash is going right into the movie. We just added, we can do that scene we always wanted to do.
Oh, that's great. I didn't know that.
It's very charming. It's very sweet.
Listeners, let me say, Only God Forgives is another movie worth checking out, especially because it's one of the more famous, I don't know what to call it. It's not quite art house. I guess it is kind of art house. It's a unique thriller that I have kind of mixed
anti-mainstream.
Anti-mainstream, yeah. I mean, I have mixed feelings about it to some extent because all the characters are like nasty to one degree or another. But it's a ridiculously stylish, like cool movie.
Absolutely.
It's super cool. So if you just want to watch like a mood piece, a thriller, and set in Thailand with some great Thai actors who we also know, Only God Forgives, definitely worth it. And with Ryan Gosling. So exactly. and you got to meet him, is that right?
Yeah. So he did the red carpet walk, and I'd done the red carpet walk because I brought some friends and some of my actor, Alex Mraz and stuff like that. So we got to be in the VIP areas, a lot of fun. So, and everybody, I was sitting at my dinner table, and Ryan was at the next table, and he was kind of being mobbed. And when it finally slowed down, I kind of went over and said, "Hey, I just want to say hello. How are you? I'm David." And I said, "We have a mutual friend, Johnny Recker." And he's like, "Oh," because Johnny was my second AD on a couple of projects I did, and he had done Crazy Stupid Love.
Oh wow, okay.
With him, and they stayed pretty. They're still. He's like, "Oh yeah, we're always sending." We're always texting songs back and forth to each other.
Oh, crazy!
So we had a great time talking. We had just a bunch of mutual friends, and he was just couldn't have been nicer. An absolute pleasure to work with, to talk with. And he's like, "I hope we work together one day." I'm like, "Yeah, I'd love to."
Okay, so actually, before you did this at the Hua Hin Film Festival, you had also made a very interesting film.
Well, yeah, that's an interesting story because I was back in LA. I was just getting ready to come back to Thailand because that back then, so 2010, I was still coming back and forth a lot. And I got a call from my friend Richard Middleton, who I've done 7 projects with and been friends for about over 20 years. He called me up and he's like, "Hey, where are you?" I said, "I'm in LA right now." He's like, "Ah." He's like, "What are you doing in October and November of this year?" And I said, "I don't know." Calling to offer me a crappy paying job. And he laughed and he said, "No, I wanted you to meet these guys. They're these people from France. They're making a silent movie." I'm like, "What? Okay." So that'll be easy we don't have to stop for airplanes flying over,
That's right.
Hold the rolls. So so I said, "These guys are cool. You want to come meet them?" And I said, "Sure." So the next day I went over to the hotel where they were staying in West Hollywood and met these guys. Met a French first AD guy named James Canal, who was a great guy, still a good friend. And the DP was Guillaume Schiffman, and who I just had dinner with in Paris last month, and a director named Michel Hasnavicius. And they were making a film called The Artist. And it was a Hollywood story. It was being shot, is going to be presented in black and white. Shot back then, of course, on film, because most everything still was on film, mostly back then. And but it was a silent film, and so I met these guys, liked them, and they Richard called me and said, yeah, if you want to do it, we'd love to have you. It'd be your job, you know, if you want to do the gig, it's great. And I said, cool. I said, well, I'm just on my way back to Thailand, you know, and because I didn't start for about a month. So I went back to Thailand. And this funny thing was, is I got offered my first job in Thailand, working on Scorpion King 3 or something like that.
Gotcha.
And I said, hey, you want to do it? And I said, oh, I'm going back to LA because I'm doing this French silent movie. So I ended up going back and doing that. And it ended up being, I really had a great time with it, actually, because I got along great with the director and the lead actor, a guy named Jean Dujardin. And the lead actress was actually in reality was the wife of the director, Bernice Bejo.
Right.
And great team that we put together. And Richard, who's my longtime friend and producer and one of the better line producers I know. And my second AD and my gang was great. And we had a great time. It was one of the funnest times I've ever had making a film. And,
well, once again, listeners, apparently this is our like movie advice show, but I'm assuming a lot of you guys have heard about The Artist already because the film went on to win a lot of awards, including Best Picture at the Academy Awards. And so, but at the time you made this was just a weird, quirky, like silent black and white movie made by a bunch of Frenchies.
Yeah.
So I mean, obviously it was very well done and very professional.
Yeah.
But that is not that's not a great pitch to win Best Picture in that day and age. Hey, we're going to make a black and white silent movie.
Yeah.
That's not like oh, that'll be a hit.
No, it was a gutsy move.
Sure.
Thomas Langman, who had produced the film and did most of the financing out of Paris, took a real chance. And he'd worked with, he knew Michel, and he'd worked with Michel before on some of his previous films. And knew Jean Dujardin, who had become a pretty well-known actor in France. He went on to win pretty much every award except the César, the César, which is the French award.
Oh, really?
But yeah, and it was kind of because I think it probably because he made an American film, and it was
very
like,
funny.
we're not going to give it to
Very funny.
the César, but he did win the Palme d'Or at Cannes.
Wow.
So The Artist, we ended up shooting it. I think when we were making it, we knew we were doing something pretty special. But as we would look at the dailies, and they were silent, and it was just like, who's going to watch this?
Yeah.
You know, and but it ended up coming out and being one of the more compelling films that I've ever seen.
It's great.
Yeah,
I was surprised at how much I liked it.
It's a total crowd pleaser.
Yeah, I'm into quirky, odd films, but just black and white, silent, a new one. It wasn't something that was like something I thought I would like, and I love it. It's great.
Yeah, it was cool. It was great to be a part of. I had so much fun working with those guys, and lifelong friends now. And then months later, after we finished shooting in December of 2010, then we got into the Cannes Film Festival, and then it was picked up by the Weinstein Company. Pre Me Too. So
right.
I mean, Harvey was still very much a force,
Sure.
a major force to be reckoned with in Hollywood at the time. By far, he was certainly one of the more powerful people in the business.
Sure.
And he got behind it. We got some great reviews, and then the awards started coming in, and then
so you did the Hua Hin Film Festival, and you found out. Now, was that for the Directors Guild Awards? Is that what that was?
So what happened was, I was in Bangkok, and my friend Paul was working on the Hua Hin Film Festival, which is the one we were talking about. With
right.
Ryan Gosling had come down for. Well, Paul was like, I'm going to come down to Hua Hin. I decided to drive down to Hua Hin a couple days before the festival just to kind of hang out and be with some of my friends down there and hang out and see what I could do to help. And I got a call from Richard Middleton, who was the producer on The Artist, and he was like, David, The Artist has been nominated for a Directors Guild Award, and it's the directing team, so this is an award that you'd be a part of. If you want to come, great. You got to let me know by this date. If not, I'm going to give your ticket to somebody else. So I was like, okay, great. Oh my God. So that's the week of the Hua Hin Film Festival. Oh my God. I've already committed to being there. I have friends coming. I brought these actors in.
Sure.
I've committed all this help. So worked out the opening night of the Hua Hin Film Festival. I think it was on a Thursday night. And so ended up being there for that. Had a great time at the opening night when dancing afterward, and had a great time. And the 5 a.m. or no, 3 a.m. a car picked me up, drove me to Suvarnabhumi. I got there at 5:30. I had a flight at 7 that went to Japan, and I guess you crossed the date line. So now it was Friday. Now it's Thursday again. So anyways, the date worked out that I literally landed in LA the morning of the DGA Awards.
Gotcha.
So I got there, I went and I bought a tuxedo. I went to my home in Santa Monica, dropped my stuff, went to the tuxedo shop, got measured for a tuxedo, went back to my home, Santa Monica, showered, shaved, got cleaned up, went and picked up my tux, drove back home, put on my tux, drove to the Kodak Theater in time to see the rest of the directing team from The Artist, and we won the Directors Guild Award.
Incredible. So you have been on a seriously award-winning film. I mean, like this whole story I just love, because we were saying when we took a break recording, like, I mean, you really started your career at like the bottom rung of TV production, and you just kind of step by step climbed yourself. So there you are
from the real life Wayne's World up to
yeah, seriously, you started as Wayne's World.
Yeah.
And then you're in the Kodak Theater, like part of this team that won the Directors Guild Award.
Yeah, and it was great. It was fun and unbelievable. Partly because I really loved everybody I worked with, and they were such nice people, and they're still great friends. And anytime I go to Paris, I hook up with them, anybody I can of the team that's around and available.
Now, listeners out there, we do recommend, so now this is our third film we've recommended. You should watch The Artist. And actually, David is actually quite easy to identify. His fingerprint, or we should say his voice, is on the film, because although the film itself is silent, it's really a movie about the making of a silent movie. Like, I'm not really giving anything away. And so there's just very little actual spoken dialogue. And David has one of the lines, basically the only line, more or less.
Well, the line. So what happened was at the very end of the film, so it's a silent movie the whole way through, and in the end, the happy ending, luckily, not to ruin it for you, but the very last series of shots, the last minute of the movie, there's actually sound in it for the first time.
Right.
We hear dialogue spoken.
You're on the set.
So we're
of
on the
movie,
set of
right?
a movie,
yeah.
And so a director is there sitting next to John Goodman, who's like the studio head.
Right.
We've just done this beautiful dance sequence, and the director says cut, and John Goodman says, "That was terrific. How about just one more?" And then the actor says, "With pleasure." And then against my will and purely at gunpoint, Michel, the director, had insisted that I play the first AD in this scene, which I thought was just going to be, okay, I'll just be standing here doing nothing. Yeah, I'll just be, whatever. And I was like, no, I'm too busy. I can't play this part. I can't do this. And he wouldn't take no for an answer. So I got to go, and the fabulous, wonderful Mark Bridges, our costume designer, took me off and dressed me in 1931 circa outfits, and then the makeup artists, Julie Hewitt and Zoe Hay and Sid Cornell, our great hair makeup team, cut my hair, shaved my goatee,
and you had a line,
and I didn't even look. So I basically, all I did was I ad-libbed for about a minute. And so I had the most lines in the film that won the Best Picture Oscar.
That's great.
And it was nominated for 11 Academy Awards. We won 5: Best Picture, Best Director, Best Actor, Best Music, and Best Costumes. And then nominated for another 6 on top of that. And it was just a blast. It was so much fun. And I didn't even think they were going to keep my scene in there. And it was actually a friend of mine, a friend of ours, was in Cannes when the film premiered. And he had called me. I was in LA. I didn't go to the Cannes Film Festival. But that was our premiere, was at the Cannes Film Festival. And my friend Tom Waller calling me, he's texting me. He's like, "Dude, can you get me into The Artist?" I'm like, "Dude, I'm not even there. I'm in LA right now."
Right.
And so he's like, "Oh, I'll figure." And he's like, "Don't worry, I got a ticket. I'm in." And then the next day, like 2 hours later, I don't know what time, it was a weird time zone, I get a text from Tom. He's like, "Dude, you have all the lines in this movie." I was like, "Oh my God, they kept that in?"
Oh, that's great.
I can't believe that. Oh my God, I was stunned.
Now, listeners, you might remember Tom Waller. He's also been a guest on the Bangkok podcast. I don't remember the episode right now, but we did an episode on his kind of docudrama film about the cave. So Tom Waller, a mutual friend. So it's so funny. So you didn't even know you were in the film until
I remember doing that scene, and but I thought no, they'll pipe
cut
the
it
out, they'll cut it out, they'll cut the lines out, there won't be.
Right.
But it ended up being a great. It was really fun. I mean, it's awesome for me. I'm very lucky to have that moment, and where it basically the entire movie ends when I say and action.
That's
and
right.
That's the end of the movie. So
Right.
I say the whole, okay, let's everybody in positions. Here we go. Camera ready, please. Here we go. And roll sound, roll camera, and action. So I was doing, and that's what I do every day on a film set. So it was like, I always say that I had rehearsed 23 years for that part, so.
Hey, it won Best Picture, so it was worth it.
Yeah, I can't complain.
It was worth it.
Yeah.
So the bottom line is, even though you've worked on these amazing films with these amazing people, you have still mostly based yourself here. I know it was a while before you actually bought a place, but you kept getting gigs here, kept coming back, and now you're more or less permanently here, although you still work around the world.
Yeah.
So I wanted to talk to you about, since you and I, it's your job and I'm on the periphery of it, but I'm just fascinated by how many movies are shot in Thailand. It's amazing.
Yeah.
What I mean, can you briefly, I know this is a whole nother topic and we've talked for a long time, but what makes Thailand special for high-end production? So obviously I know there's going to be local stuff in every country, but not every country has professionals from around the world coming in, spending a lot of money.
Yeah.
So why do they come here?
Well, there's many reasons, but luckily one of the main draws is that Thailand not only is a beautiful place to shoot, whether it's cityscapes or beaches or jungles, but it's also, they have the resources. So Thailand, early on, I think if you go back to the James Bond films or to the Killing Fields or something like that, which were all filmed in Thailand, or major parts of them.
A bunch of James Bond movies, right?
Yeah. And so what happened is you had these crews that had come to Thailand, from Great Britain or from LA or from Hollywood, whatever, and they got to work with a lot of the local Thai crew, and the Thai crew picked up the working style and the work, not the work ethic, but just the methodology, so to speak, of how films were made in the West. Because every place is different. How they make films in India is very different. How they make them in Hollywood,
Sure.
How they make them in South America, Spain might be different than how they make them in other places. So the fact that you had some crew here that were trained by a lot of high-end Western,
Interesting.
people.
I don't think I realized that.
Yeah,
That makes sense.
And that makes a big difference because they sort of get it. I mean, the Thai crews get it. They're very smart. They're very talented, but they also understand the working hours, how it goes, how the cadence on a film set. They get that. They're used to working on big stars, things like that. So they're great at that. So that, and because of that, the industry itself is built up where there are sound stages in Thailand, mostly in Bangkok, of course. World class, high-end sound stages here. Any kind of equipment you could need, from film cameras, HD cameras, helicopter mounts, to dollies, to Steadicams, to cranes, to sound equipment, drones.
Right. Once there's been so many productions here, you get that subsidiary
infrastructure.
So you get rental houses and equipment manufacturers who have like representatives, and so you
people
get
that understand film catering. Just knowing how all of these. Now I'll talk to you as an AD. So what a film shoot operates almost like the military does, with a great degree of precision. You have 125 people that show up to some beach location in Krabi. Well, they've just spent a night in a hotel. They got in a van. So you need all these transportation people that can get everybody to the set.
There's a lot of logistics.
So where do we sit when we eat breakfast? Is our caterer set up? Food is set up because they're going to eat from 6:30. Breakfast is ready at 6:30 because at 7 is work time. So no more eating. It's time to go to work, and it's stuff like that. So knowing, having caterers that understand the importance of their job, that they're one of the spokes in that wheel. And if that spoke is gone, then the wheels don't work anymore.
So just having caterers who understand catering for film production.
Exactly. And the importance of having food ready, the kind of food that people want. They can cook Western food, they can cook Thai food.
And potentially if you went to like a random city in Asia, they just might not have that expertise.
Right, exactly. Well, why and then they come to me, it's like, why did it take so long to get our day going today? Well, the caterer wasn't ready. They weren't set up in time.
Right.
The crew showed up and there was no food, and they weren't going to come to work until they had their food. And it was like, oh, you know. And
so
then,
basically we've had, I mean, a lot of those Bond films, I think, were in the 60s and 70s. And so there's been essentially what you're saying, there's been kind of a long time for this industry to build up.
yeah.
And so essentially Thailand is just ready. It's ready for major motion pictures.
They're well positioned. Certainly. They're incredibly well positioned. I mean, and I don't want to speak about ill. I don't mean this to speak ill about somebody else's production, because I can give examples of films I didn't work on. But there was a movie, a very popular movie on Netflix called Extraction.
Well, I remember.
And I had some friends that worked on that. Right. What happened, that was a movie that was mostly set in India.
India, correct.
Yeah. And the same thing was with Shantaram, which was all set in India. Well, both of those productions, Extraction specifically, was planning on shooting about 80% of the production in India and about 20% in Thailand. Well, after only a few weeks of shooting in India, the production decided to basically build their India sets in Thailand.
Oh, really? Wow.
Because it wasn't working out. There was communication issues, there was methodology issues, and they came to Thailand. So logistical problems. So, and I wasn't there, so I can't speak specifically about what the problems were, but I had some friends that worked on it from the States who had worked on that. And they came to Thailand and they had a great experience because
I love this. I love this kind of information. As Greg and I have said a million times on the podcast, we rip on Thailand if there's something we don't like, but we really try to like trumpet things that work well here, because as you know, foreigners can end up just being negative and kvetching and like just being really annoying. And so I love the fact that so many foreign film productions are happy here, and they rave about the crews, they rave about the food, and it's just something that kind of works. And it shows that, you know, Thai people have their own way of getting stuff done. Like I've learned this over the years, where even at my university, when I need something, there's something about Thai people. They never kind of look like they're taking anything seriously. They're always so chill and casual that I'm always afraid, like, oh my God, this is like not going to get done, but then it gets done.
Yeah.
No, it's like they don't freak out like Westerners do. Like they're not high strung.
Yeah.
And so sometimes they just seem to be like too casual because they're just so relaxed all the time.
Yeah.
You know, they're so chill all the time. And I'm always a little bit like, guys, like, what is this going to happen or whatever?
Yeah.
But then it happens. It gets done. And in film productions, like you said, it's like they are logistically difficult. It's a logistical nightmare. This is kind of random, but I'll just mention it. During the Katrina floods in New Orleans,
2004 or something like that.
Yeah. Or I remember a random interview with Steven Soderbergh, and he goes, look, I don't want to bitch or moan, but like I could find bedding for like 1,000 people if I had to, just from all the movies I've worked on. He's like, if I had to set up a camp, he's like, what's taking FEMA so long? He's like, you wouldn't believe what we have to do on our films. Like I shot in Cuba, like, and you know, and he's just like, I'm used to finding lodging for hundreds of people. You know, it's like,
that's what it is. When I say military precision, it is. It's making a movie is a military operation to a certain extent. Luckily, it's
a lot of people. It's hundreds of people for the big films.
Yeah, and no, it is. It's you're moving around a huge number of people, and that's a big part of my job on a film is those logistics, getting people moved around, making sure.
Man, I don't know if I could do that, man.
It's a lot of pressure. I mean, it definitely it can be fun, but
logistics freak me out. Like I'm an absent-minded professor for a living, so if I can get my shoes tied and like get outside and get to work on time, that's an accomplishment. Like if I had to worry about dozens of other people being somewhere on time, it would drive me crazy.
Yeah,
but that's what you have to do.
You're out of control, and I mean that's tough, and that's where, I mean, somebody once said that, you know, the average lifespan of a first AD is they live to 56 or something.
Well,
luckily, I've exceeded that. So
it seems kind of like you're kind of the tip of the spear or whatever that expression is. Like you're just dealing with the shit. Like you're not removed.
Yeah.
You're like you're like the frontline soldier.
Some people say you have control over nothing and are responsible for everything. Yeah. And that's not.
Man, I honestly don't think I could do it. Yeah. So in short, so Thailand's got great logistical support, people who are familiar with the film industry.
Yeah.
It's got good crew. It obviously has got killer locations. We all know Thailand's a beautiful place.
Yeah.
But it's also
Well, the other thing is just there's a huge appeal here too. People, this is a place where you can get people that want to come here. The hardest thing sometimes is on production.
Yeah, that's another point is getting people who want to come.
You want actors? There's a lot of actors that are like, I don't know. Do you want to go to?
You want to go to Bulgaria? You want to go to
Bulgaria? You go to Sri Lanka for 6 months. Thailand? Oh, Thailand. Sure, I'll come to Thailand. I mean, great. It is. I mean, Thailand's the most welcoming city in the world, in my opinion.
Right.
So, and Chris Lowenstein always says that the thing that's always fun to see with people is when they come to Thailand for the first time, and his attitude is like they're expecting Calcutta and they get Paris.
Oh, I love that.
There's so much. I mean, when you think about here in the neighborhood where I live in, I live within 200 meters of two world-class malls, M Quartier and Emporium. You know, and these are amazing. I mean, I go grocery shopping at the gourmet market.
Right.
I have the best salad bar I can find anywhere. Well, I can't find it in New York.
Love it.
The food's here amazing. And they're building a third place, the M Sphere, which is going to have a 5,000 seat arena that's 250 meters from my apartment. It's it's so amazing.
Yeah.
And everything's world class.
We've said this many times that I think Bangkok's great. Almost whatever your income level is, if you need to live cheaply, you can do it. Actually, not very far from where the place you're talking about. Go down Soi 22 a ways, and you can get a 6,000 baht apartment.
Yeah,
and then or there's high rises, or there's the Marriott Marquis and high so malls. It's this is one thing we love about Thailand and Bangkok. It's just every segment is hit. So you can if you want to spend money here, you can.
Exactly.
But if you don't want to spend money, you can do okay.
Live a great, very luxurious life on a very modest, expensive
for sure
monthly expenses. And that's what I love about it. I mean, once again, not to be personal, but it's like I've always been lucky that I basically work at a Western salary,
right?
And I live in Thailand.
But my point is you could be in LA or New York if you wanted to, or Paris, but here works.
Yeah, absolutely.
Well, okay. Last thing I want to talk about, since we haven't talked for a while, is there must be, since as you and I have talked about, in Hollywood everything is about the money, so there must be it must be relatively cheap to make movies here. It can't just be all the other stuff you talked about. Right. So what is Thailand? Is Thailand cheaper than? Oh,
Thailand is definitely cheaper. Your dollar goes a lot farther here than it does, say, in the States. Salaries, the crews here don't work in any kind of union capacity. They make a very good salary based on Thai standards.
For Thailand, right?
But I think for Western standards, the salaries are considerably lower, just based on.
So the labor's cheaper.
Labor's cheaper. Accommodations are a lot cheaper. You can get a very, very nice hotel room for $100 a night in
accommodations. I remember when another random thing, but when my sister came to visit, I asked her where she was going to stay, and it was one of the Marriotts. I said to her, like, Anne, you're going to end up paying like $300 there, and she goes, when I go to Boston, it's $600.
Yeah.
So she was like only 300, and she's staying at a 5-star place.
Yeah.
And so I wanted to convince her, like, hey, you can spend 3,000 baht over here and it's almost as good. But for her, 10,000 baht was like, oh my God, this is crazy.
What a bargain. Oh no.
It was like 5-star hotel for $300.
Absolutely.
So this is another great thing. And then I know neither you and I are experts on this. We got to get our buddy John on the show. But they do also have like some tax incentives and rebates and things that as well.
I'm fairly familiar with the rebates here. There's a 15% cash rebate for qualifying productions, which is great. And there is discussions about increasing that, because if you look at a comparison, places like Hungary, which offers probably one of the better incentives in Europe, I think they're 30%.
Wow. So listeners, just to clarify, and David, correct me if I'm wrong, but what that means is you essentially submit your budget, show the government how much you're spending, and they'll give you 15% of that back in cash?
You show them your expenses, not your budget.
Your actual expenses.
Then an audited version of your expenses.
How much you're spending in country.
This is how much we spent in country.
In country. I get it. Okay.
So the key is the qualified expenditure. So every country has a different list of what is considered a qualified expenditure. And every state, like in the United States, different states each have their own incentive. And they're always trying to outdo each other because New Mexico wants to hold on to their production, but also Louisiana's got a good incentive, as does Georgia, as does New Jersey, as does, Washington State. So these places have their incentives. So they each end up keep upping it. We'll give you a percentage on crew you bring in. Oh, but no, a lot of places it's only the local crew you hire.
I see.
And then, as one state tries to up the other one, they'll say, well, we'll give you half of a lower percentage on your crew you have to bring in from LA or New York to shoot in New Mexico. But for now, Thailand's qualified spend is on local crew, like expenses like location fees, hotels, equipment, food to spot in the country, and only from the point at which your project is permitted is gotten a permit from the film office.
Gotcha. But the bottom line is relatively inexpensive to make a movie here on top of all the other advantages.
Yeah, exactly. So you would be required to bring in much fewer crew. Bringing in a crew from LA, UK, Australia is more expensive because you're paying them probably their local salary, their domestics, whatever their domestic is, whether it's US or UK. You're paying them their salary. Plus you have airfare, hotel, paying a per diem and stuff like that. Whole days, if you shut down, well, you got to fly them home and then fly them back and things like that. I mean, we're dealing with a strike that just ended. So there was a lot of productions that were gearing up to go right before the writers and actors strike happened here. And that affected a lot of productions, certainly in the States, but certainly here in Thailand too. A lot of shows shut down. So now they have to burden the cost of bringing all those people back, and they've been paying holding fees on sets and locations and stages and actors.
Hopefully that's all over, man. Hopefully we can get back on. Well, David, this has been incredible. Obviously, you and I could keep going, and we got to have you back on the show
anytime. It was so much fun.
Each film you have worked on here is a separate story, and I've heard some of them. So our listeners need to hear some of those. I'm going to finish up with one of my favorite David Cluck nuggets. This is a true story. 18 months ago, approximately, a tragedy occurred when the war between Russia and Ukraine started, or when Russia invaded Ukraine. And we were just learning about it and talking about it. And I never had heard of the president of Ukraine, Volodymyr Zelensky. I never heard of him before. And I was just watching these YouTube videos, and I learned that he was an actor and a comedian, right? And we were talking about it. I'm shooting this shit with my buddy David. And I just jokingly said to David, let me guess, you've worked with the president of Ukraine before. And what did you say, David?
I don't remember.
Of course. I think you do remember.
I do remember. You said, actually, yes. Just after my first time in Thailand in 2008, I'd finished up Foremost Betrayed, and I went back to America, and I got a call from Richard Middleton, my good friend, producer, saying, hey, I'm doing a Russian language romantic comedy in New York. And our friend Marius Balchunas is a director. You want to work on it? I'm like, yeah, sure. Well, the movie was called No Love in the City. And it was about three Russian guys living in New York, kind of living the high life. And it's a romantic fantasy film. And they basically get a hex put on them where they will not be able to make love to a woman because of mechanical issues until they learn to find their true love. So they were messing around. They were living the high life and shagging too much in the city. And then the hex gets put on by St. Valentine.
Love in the city.
Until you can love from here, you will not be able to love from there.
Oh, very funny. And the star of the movie was?
So it was written by and starring Volodymyr Zelensky.
This is incredible. And so you ended up actually getting to know him and hanging out with him. Is that correct?
Yeah, I mean, we were staying in the same apartment. We all were together all the time, and we would all ride in the van. We had such a very low budget film, so we had one van. So we all stayed in the same apartment on West 42nd Street, and we could be shooting down Washington Square Park or something like that. And at the end of the day shooting, we'd all hop in the van, and we'd be passing around a little bottle of vodka.
I could not believe this. I just made a joke. I was joking and said, like, let me guess, you've worked with Zelensky. And then he tells me the story. And at first I thought you're just trolling, like you're just making this up. And then I realized this is true. You actually know Volodymyr Zelensky.
Yeah, he was one of the nicest guys I've worked with.
He's a comedian.
Right up there
he's a
with
comedian,
Jeff Bridges and stuff. Yeah, brilliant comedic actor, and writer. He wrote the script. He starred in it. He was one of the 3 main leads.
Life is weird, man. Life is
and
weird.
now he represents the
an entire country. He's standing up. He's standing up.
Well, he represents the struggle against autocracy in the world.
He does. He's standing up to Vladimir Putin now. It's incredible.
Yeah.
And you worked with him. Anyway, so that's just one of my favorite David Cluck stories. But there's a lot more Cluck stories out there. But we'll have to say those for another time. So, Dave, I just want to say thank you for doing this.
Thanks, Ed.
You took your whole afternoon. I appreciate it. And the Bangkok podcast thanks you very much.
It's my pleasure, and I hope to do it again.
Man, great interview. Well done. That was super interesting. Just like part 1 last week. And
he's had a crazy life. He's done some really cool stuff.
Yeah, I can sit down and listen to him talk all the time. I love these stories. And the film industry is such a good, fertile ground for these crazy stories because you're always traipsing all over the place from country to country. You're meeting weird, random people, and some of them are famous, and some of them are crazy, and some of them are jerks, and some of them are nice.
Right.
So it just sort of like has this natural ecosystem for these cool stories.
You're right. That's actually a good point. I never thought of that. I mean, obviously, filmmaking is storytelling, but the funny thing is that the filmmaking process, it does generate more stories because they always have stories about how hard they had to work and the intensity of the experience, and then there's usually some kind of on-set drama or politics, and then there's the after party and then you're right. Then they move on to some other location. So I've never done it. So you have some experience in the industry. I don't. I've been just on the edge of it. I do teach a couple film classes at my university, but I've never worked in the industry. So I love the stories, man. I love them. Yeah,
they're great. I have to tell my one favorite film story of mine working on a film set when I was playing a panhandler in the pirate movie called Blackbeard, and they shot it down in Koh Samui. On a coconut plantation where they built this like pirate village out of wood and styrofoam that looked amazing. Cool. And actually, the star of the film was Jessica Chastain, who's now a major A-lister.
She's huge.
Yeah, back then she was quite unknown. She's extremely nice, by the way, very sweet and lovely, and was really friendly. But yeah, so I'd finished my part and I was headed back to the airport in the production van, and they were going to like drop a few actors off and then pick up another couple of actors who were coming on the same plane.
Gotcha.
And then take them back to the film set. So I said, I was talking to the girl in the production crew, and I said, so who are you picking up? And she's like, I'm picking up this guy and this guy. And then we're also picking up the person who's playing like the governor of the colony. And I can't remember his name. I think he's quite well known. And I'm like, who is it? And she's like, let me find it. And she like dug through her papers, and she pulled out this paper that she was going to hold up, for someone waiting for an airplane passenger to get off the airplane at the airport.
Sure.
And in like very neat writing at the beginning that sort of had to curve down a little bit because the name was so long. So it turned off to the right and went down the side of the page. It said Richard Chamberlain.
Oh, really?
Yeah. And I was like, holy crap, Richard Chamberlain. Like he's a legend.
Oh, that's incredible.
Yeah, I actually stayed with her at the airport and met him when he got off the plane and talked to him for about half an hour. A really nice guy.
Oh, nice.
But those are the kind of stories that they come out of nowhere.
For sure.
Yeah.
Well, David is the king of those stories, at least in my world. I'm sure there's a lot of raconteurs in the film industry, but in my group of friends, he's definitely got the broadest experience, and I'm just glad he's here, and I'm glad that there's a lot of film work in Thailand. So the film club I hang out at on Soy 22, there's just a ton of film people there, and they're doing a lot of interesting projects. I mean, you and I have done our best to get filmmakers on the show. Tom Waller, Chris Lowenstein, Paul Spurrier, we've done our best, but it's just it's a really cool part of the expat world in Thailand.
Yeah, I agree. So many thanks to David for coming on. That was a really interesting couple of shows. And I hope to see him out at some dive bar, listen to music and drinking beers one night.
For sure. That'll happen.
Hopefully with Charlize Theron.
Yeah, when she comes in town, for sure.
Yeah, that's right.
Alrighty, so as we mentioned at the beginning of the show, we'd like to say thank you to Yari for lending us his support at the show shout-out level. Greg, what did you find out about Yari?
Well, as it turns out, Yari was in town recently, and we managed to meet up for a quick beer, which was great. Good chance to chat and catch up and meet Yari. The interesting thing about Yari, though, beyond the fact that he's huge and I have to look up to talk to him. I'm 186 centimeters, so I'm usually looking straight across or down at someone, but Yari's like,
right.
He's got to be 195. So I'm looking up at him. He's a giant guy.
Damn.
Yeah, but it's really interesting because, we sort of pride ourselves on our expatness, our merit badgeness of being an expat.
We're working on it.
Yeah, but Yari's lived in so many places. I'm not even sure what nationality. I think he's Finnish. But he wrote an email. He says, "Hey guys, love the show. I think I was actually born to be an expat. I've lived in Belgium, France, Egypt, Switzerland, Austria, Syria, and lots of travel all over Southeast Asia. And because of living in all those places, I actually feel at home wherever on the planet I get to."
Nice.
That's pretty cool.
That is very cool.
A lot of places.
It's very cool.
And Yari said a while ago he met a lovely woman here and is planning on moving here and getting serious about learning the language. And, he says that. And then, of course, you say, oh, yeah, okay, well, here's my recommendations. Good luck with that, knowing that it's probably not going to amount to anything. But
right.
He said, because we've all heard that before. But I actually think Yari's got a leg up on us because check this out. He already speaks Finnish, English, French, German, and Arabic.
Damn. No, he definitely does. He definitely does have a leg up on us.
Yeah, no kidding. And it was cool because Arabic has always been this really interesting language. It's a total mystery to me how it could result in speech.
Right.
But I typed in some stuff in Google Translate and it translated to Arabic, and he was showing me. He's like, "Oh, it's really easy. This letter is yach and this one is ukh or whatever it is." And so I think he's in a good place for learning Thai. So he might be one of those other annoying expats that completely lap us in the learning Thai arena.
Well, the bottom line is some expats just do it in a few months. They could surpass us. I don't think he could surpass us in a week, but in a couple months he might surpass us.
Right. And if he gets really angry, flip over a table, starts swearing in Arabic, and no one will know what he's saying. So
that'll freak people out.
He also said he's traveled extensively in Canada, but he also said the tipping culture really turned him off, so he's in no hurry to go back. I get it, man. I can agree with that.
What do you mean the tipping culture, as in you're expected to tip a lot?
Yeah. Unlike how you opened the show, right, with giving 10 or 20 baht, right?
That's right.
So, and this is something I was scared of when my son and I went back. Do you want to give a 35% tip? Damn.
So in Canada, you can't be a cheap bastard.
That's right. That's why I'm here. Anyway, Yari, thanks for your support. Thanks for writing in, and it was good to meet you. And let us know next time you're through town. Maybe we'll be having a meetup at the same time, and we can get together and have a few more beers.
Thanks, Yari. Alrighty, a final thanks to all of our patrons who support the show. Patrons get a ton of cool perks and the warm, fuzzy feeling knowing that they're helping in our never-ending quest for cool content. Find out more by clicking support on our website. And connect with us online. We're Bangkok Podcast on social media, bangkokpodcast.com on the web, or simply bangkokpodcast@gmail.com. We love hearing from our listeners and always reply to our messages.
Oh yeah, you can also listen to each episode on YouTube. You can send us a voicemail through our website that we'll feature on the show. You can hit me up on Threads at BKKGreg. Thanks for listening, everyone. Take it easy out there. We'll see you back here next week.
No doubt.